I guess, being able to overcome the most amount of fear, be able to overcome the most pressure, be able to be in the zone mentally and not be worried about the fear and about dying. And the way for me to do that was first by physical training. I just knew that in order to be like psychologically super confident, I had to be like crazy fit.
Welcome to the Mountain Tough Podcast, brought to you by Sig Sauer. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mountain Tough Podcast. I am Dustin Diefenderfer, CEO and host, and I'm so glad that you are here. We love seeing you dive into these episodes week after week, and it is our goal to bring you an inspiring guest every single episode, digging into their mindset, digging into what makes them tick, so that we can unpack that, teach it to others, so that you can live that abundant, virtuous life and plow through adversity. If you are a new listener or a loyal listener, and if you have a second to leave us a podcast review, those do mean the world to us. We love seeing your feedback come through. We are big believers in iron sharpens iron, so any feedback you have on the show, on guests that we should be looking at, we love seeing those in the reviews on the podcast store of your choice. And through the algorithm, the rankings and reviews allow these episodes to get out to more people and transform more lives. Shifting over to today's guest today, we have a phenomenal episode with Hawaiian surf legend Shane Dorian. Shane has chased and succeeded on some of the biggest and most dangerous waves in the world. His big wave career was epic, and the amount of fear he had to overcome to do the stuff he did in the ocean is mind-blowing. Talk about a mindset. The mindset of a big wave surfer is like none other. We're going to get into that today. And then now that he is 52, he talks about shifting into a new passion, and that new passion being bow hunting, and how much spending time bow hunting and in the outdoors can change and improve your life. A phenomenal, fun conversation with Shane. So stand by for Shane Dorian. Awesome, man. I know you're doing a little bit of hunting as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, whenever I get the chance, I'm hunting. I love to hunt. So yeah, I'm trying to get it in as much as I can.
Have you had some hunts this year?
Yeah, I have. They've been in Hawaii, but I'd been so busy uh I had to turn down two incredible hunts just because my schedule has been so insane. So, but I've been hunting in Hawaii a lot.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
I just did like 4 days in the mountains in Hawaii, and it was amazing.
Hawaii hunting's so epic. I got the chance to go there for the first time this year, but that like the access deer, the way that they've been hunted every day of their life, and just like how keen they are on their senses is insane.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Did you hunt them archery or rifle?
I did a little bit of both. I went to Lanai this year,
Did you
and
start with a bow?
yeah, I did.
That's a very familiar story to me. I have so many people I run into and so many friends that will come to hunt axis deer, and like they have like a 5-day trip, and like the first 3 days they'll hunt with a bow, and then they'll just be like throwing in the towel because it's so freaking hard, you know? So, and then there's like, I need to get something. I need to get some meat to take home, you know?
It is mind blowing, especially compared to I've spent my whole life in Montana, born and raised, and always being around deer and elk. It's a completely different game over there with access. We were in an archery only unit right behind the place we were staying in Lanai, and they're like ghosts
Yeah.
during the sunup hours. They're completely like ghosts, and then you would flash like a headlamp out there after sundown and there's just like thousands of eyes staring at you. But
Yeah.
during the daytime, well, they're just like specters. It's crazy.
Yeah. They have really wild senses, man. Their reaction time too to a shot is insane.
Hmm. Yeah, they're really
Pretty
cool.
crazy. Yeah, they can be really frustrating animals, but you can fall in love with them too. And the meat is so good. That's kind of all I eat. So I try to kill all that I can.
Hmm. Yeah, some of the best game meat in the world.
Yeah, no doubt.
What island are you on?
I'm on the Big Island, so there's no deer where I live, but we have rams and goats and pigs. But
Awesome.
I normally will go to the other islands that have deer, and I'll go probably 4 times a year, maybe 5 times a year. You can
Just
hunt them year round, so it's amazing.
yeah, year round, just stacking up on that meat, that incredible meat.
And my family, like 80% of the meat that we eat is axis deer, maybe even more. So my both my kids and my wife, they eat axis deer almost every day.
Man, that's incredible. Yeah, especially now with all the stuff we're finding out is in our food, even our healthy food, the amount of like hidden chemicals in that's messing us
Yeah,
up. It's crazy.
for sure.
Yeah, let's dive into coaching and how you kind of got into that and how that has been as like a career transition in your life.
Yeah, the coaching thing has been wild. I have I've been a surfer my whole life, and I started surfing when I was 5, and then I've been a pro surfer since I was 18, and then I traveled the world tour, basically competing for 11 years, trying to win a world title. And that was like super intense and hectic, lots of pressure, week to week. And your value is kind of based on how you did for the year. So there's like this immense pressure and, you know, juggling, um, you know, brand partnerships, sponsorships, then having it all come down to like the end of the year and having all, really, really kind of a high pressure situation. And then I kind of got burnt out on the competition thing. And then when I quit surfing in contests, I was about 34.
Mhm.
And then for the next, from 34 on, I really got hyper focused on big wave surfing. And so not competitive really at all. It was just really like focused on trying to chase the biggest waves in the world. And then so I've had like these like 3 or 4 decades of hyper focused experience in surfing, and a lot of competitive surfing, and I never really thought about coaching until this Brazilian surfer named Italo Ferreira, who was doing really well that year. I think it was 2019. He reached out to me right before the end of the year, right before the end of the season, and he said, "Look, I'm within striking range for the world title, and I don't know. I'm not, I don't have a very good record at Pipeline. Pipeline is the kind of like the mecca of surfing. It's like
Mm.
at the time it was like the final event of the year, and it all kind of came down to Pipeline for him. And he had never won a world title before, and he really didn't feel very confident going into the last event because he didn't have much experience at that venue. So he reached out to me, and I said, "Yeah, I mean, I've never really coached before, but I know how you can win." And so
Hmm.
I got him to Hawaii really early, 4 weeks early, and we did a ton of work. I set out a game plan, got to know him really well, and long story short, he ended up kind of overcoming a lot of the things he had going on, having an incredible event, and having like a victory in the final heat of the last round. So he actually won the world title. So that was
Dang.
an amazing experience for him, an amazing experience for me. And then kind of opened up my mind of like, hey, like, wow, this coaching thing's kind of cool. And it was actually fairly easy, just because I've had so much experience in surfing and been around surfing competition for so long. And then I never really pursued it, but I just started having more and more athletes reach out at the highest
Hmm.
level. And it's an honor, to coach some of my favorite surfers and to be able to like help them reach their goals. And then since then, I've started working with some younger kids as well. 2 or 3 times now, I've coached the Hawaii surf team for the World Surfing Games, which is like an international teams competition. So 6 boys, 6 girls on our team. And the last few years I've coached that. So it's been cool, man. It's been something different I never really pursued or really thought I was going to be really interested in, but it's kind of cool to have kind of this body of experience and work and knowledge and have it be valuable for the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Just pouring in and kind of like giving back to that community that was so big in your life. Are you finding that a lot of that coaching with surfing is psychological more than physical?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's most of the stuff I do, probably 80% of the stuff I do is psychological. Most of the work I do with my athletes is mindset and just kind of getting them ready mentally for their events.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is like fundamental surfing ability stuff where you're trying to like help them level up and learn some technical stuff, especially with the younger people that I'm coaching, and then some of the girls that I'm coaching as well. They're some of them are really young and they're really trying to kind of become better surfers, like technically. And that's what I really am passionate about. And I feel like that's my wheelhouse. But like the mindset stuff also, that's like the thing that really changes the game for them from a competitive standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm imagining like a lot of that mindset stuff for you and overcoming those fears and pushing through adversity. Did that mostly come from those decades of big wave surfing?
Yeah, a lot of it. Some have been through my experience of like competing full time for a long, long time, and then being very, very close, like best friends with a lot of world champions and seeing kind of what they've gone through and what has worked, for them. I've been in very, close proximity and like kind of in the war zone with those guys all these years. And so I've just kind of seen what they've gone through and kind of what has worked and what's not worked. And then been really inspired by them and just have kind of like a mental database of like all that experience. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my own experience surfing really big waves, overcoming fears, being able to, stay, you know, stay, I don't know how to explain that any better than just like being able to, with surfing giant waves, it's like I've had 8 or 9 friends pass away surfing really big waves. So like the risk,
Yeah.
the risk is really elevated. Like your
Mm-hmm.
risk of not coming home is real with surfing big waves. So um, knowing that and try to mitigate the risk and overcome the fear is a challenge that is, you know, it's just all consuming really when you're
Yeah.
trying to surf really big waves and you have a lot to lose, you have a family at home and all that. So yeah, there's a lot of mindset stuff I worked on personally in my own life. And I'm able to help some of these athletes really level up with some of that stuff as well.
Man, how was that at first for you? Like dropping into some of the biggest waves in the world, like the first couple times you chased the massive ones.
Um, it's not like one day you just start surfing big waves because you're interested. For me, it was like this very long process of like, ever since I was 5 years old, surfing my very first waves, standing up on a surfboard, like you have these fears. And first you surf a 1 foot wave and a 2 foot wave is big for you. And then
Mm-hmm.
you start surfing 2 foot waves and a 4 foot wave is big for you. And just so on and so on as you go up to 8 to 10 feet, 10 to 12 feet, to 15 feet, to 20 feet, to, at the pinnacle, you're paddling into 60 foot waves. And, um, the force of the ocean on a wave that is 60 feet tall, is crazy. Like you
Crazy.
just feel like an ant.
Yeah.
You feel like there's no way you can survive a wipeout. And so, yeah, it is there's definitely been some moments. There's a couple of really big waves. One of them is called Jaws on Maui, and that's probably the pinnacle big wave spot in the world.
Hmm.
And another place called Mavericks in Half Moon Bay in Northern California. And both of my first real paddle sessions out there when the waves were giant were pretty intimidating for sure. Like you know, like at the time it was early days. And so there wasn't a lot of precedent. There wasn't a lot of like, there hadn't been, especially for Jaws, there hadn't been any like kind of bar raising performances that were in my mind where I was like, wow, I need to try to like live up to these past experiences these guys have had out here. So
Yeah.
for me and for like a few other guys that were starting to paddle Jaws right at the start, it was like really felt groundbreaking. It felt groundbreaking personally to me of like just this crazy challenge in my mind that I had all these things that I wanted to achieve and accomplish. And I knew what my goal was, and I had to like not focus on the goal. I had to focus on like the process of like achieving that goal step by step.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds probably over analytical for someone who's trying to surf giant waves, but
Yeah.
I just knew that that was kind of the way I had to go about it. And for me, that meant like I knew that the best performance I could give surfing giant waves was to have the least, well, I guess being able to overcome the most amount of fear, be able to overcome the most pressure, be able to be in the zone mentally and not be worried about the fear and about dying, and just be able to like really focus and hone in on my performance and what I was doing in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the way for me to do that was first by physical training. I just knew that in order to be like psychologically super confident, I had to be like crazy fit.
Yeah.
Because it just gives you so much more confidence knowing that you've done the work, you know, and everybody sees the glory ride, right? Everybody sees that wave of your life where at the end of the ride, you got your hands up and everyone's screaming and yelling, and everybody's jealous of that, but they're not jealous of like the 4 a.m. alarm going off in the dark and no one's around and you're going to the gym and working out super hard or doing sand sprints or, you know, eating food that might not be the most delicious or whatever. Just like all the sacrifices you make
For years.
they don't see all that. They're not jealous at all that. You know, they just see the glory at the end. They're like, I want that.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, I did want to interrupt for a quick minute right here and let you know about some supplements I've been taking. I did shy away from supplements for a long time. I was always cautious about what they were made out of, where they were from, and who the team was behind the brands. But over the last couple of years, I've got to meet the team at Mountain Ops from top to bottom, and they are an amazing group of humans. I've got to know the CEO, Trevor Farnes, really well, and he is a mission-focused individual that cares about humans living a better quality of life so that they can have that abundant life. So over the last couple of years, he has helped me add some things that have changed the game for me. One of those things that I've added is creatine from Mountain Ops. It helps me maintain some muscle mass, but also it's a big, big player in cognitive function, one of the most researched supplements out there. Also, I've added reds, greens, and protein, all from Mountain Ops. What I found as a busy professional, always on the run, I do eat a whole foods diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but on the go, it's hard to get enough vegetables, fruits, and protein. So I've added that from Mountain Ops, and it has significantly changed the game. I can feel it in my performance. I haven't got sick for a long, long time, and I can certainly feel it in my mental clarity as well. The last thing I've added is the Mountain Tough Hydrate product for the backcountry, for hunting season. When I'm in the hills, I do run short on those electrolytes. We even have a Mountain Tough flavor, the Mountain Tough Lemon Lime Hydrate, and that is a game changer for hydration in the backcountry. So I keep it really simple. That is all I've added to my protocol, and it has certainly helped me, and I certainly believe in the team and the culture behind Mountain Ops. They have started an initiative that's been around for a while called Conquer Hunger. Conquer Hunger is giving meals to hungry kids that aren't getting enough food, and they've given out over 6 million meals plus to kids through their Conquer Hunger initiative. So every order that happens at Mountain Ops, a percentage of that order goes to Conquer Hunger. So certainly an incredible company, an incredible culture. As a listener to the show, you do get an exclusive offer to Mountain Ops, so make sure you check that out. The offer is incredible as a first-time purchase at mountainops.com. So build your order if it's your first time. They are offering you a 20% exclusive discount. All you need to do is enter the promo code MOUNTAINTOUGH, all one word, all caps, for 20% off your first order at mountainops.com. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. Did you wipe out and almost die on a few of those?
Yeah, I did. I've had two different really, really close call situations in my life where one time I blacked out completely and was held under for 3 waves. And that was a extremely close call. Came to, and on the surface, luckily there was no waves after I was held under for 3 waves. And
Jeez.
and there was only 2 other people in the water at the time, and they were kind of far away from me. And I kind of barely got onto my board and had all this had a lot of water and foam in my lungs, and that was all coming up.
Oh.
And I could barely feel my legs. I had all these really weird kind of things kind of happening, but that was when I was 19, and that was a really terrifying situation because I felt like that was felt like kind of like a miracle that I survived that. And then in 2009, I think it was 2009, 2010, I was surfing Mavericks in Northern California, and it was a giant day, and I took off on this wave. I was just super, super confident. I had a bunch of really good waves that day, and I was like, I'm going on the biggest wave I see today, no matter what. I just had that bulletproof mindset where I was like, I could do no wrong kind of deal.
Superhero.
And giant wave came in, it was the size of a building, and I turned around and I'm I'm going no matter what. And it just kind of it wasn't really the wrong wave, but I just, for one reason or another, I just couldn't navigate this one bump. There was a bump coming up the face, and I hit the bump and I couldn't navigate it. And I went over the handlebars, so to speak, and hit the water, went over the falls, and got held under for an extremely long time. I was at the bottom on the reef, and it's probably 30 feet deep. I was on the reef, and the wave wouldn't let me up. And then I was trying to come up to the surface. I was swimming to the surface, and as I was swimming to the surface, I was probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 feet below the surface. And the next wave, that was a 60-foot phase, broke right on top of me.
It's hammered, yeah.
And put me right back down to the reef.
Man.
And at that point, my daughter was just born, and I had a son as well. I had a son who was really young, and a daughter who was just born, and a wife, and they were all waiting for me at home. And I remember as I was swimming up, and then the next wave breaking on me and pushing me back down, and I was already out of air. I just remember just going, this is the most irresponsible thing I could be doing at this moment. I'm at the bottom of the ocean in Northern California, and my family's at home. And what am I really doing this for,
Yeah.
And it just became so clear, the risk of what I was doing, kind of thing. So obviously I lived to tell the tale. And it was cool. Actually, that experience really was a game changer for me in my life personally. Literally right after that, this is kind of going to be a little story, but right after that, I had a concussion from that wipeout, and about 48 hours later, after my concussion started wearing off, I got on a plane in San Francisco airport, flying home to my family. And I was sitting there in the plane. I had my headphones on, and I was listening to the safety speech from the flight attendant.
Yeah.
And they were saying, oh, in a emergency situation, a little thing will come down, and you put on this flotation device, and you pull this thing, and it'll inflate, and you'll be good if we crash, kind of thing. I've seen that speech a million times because I live on airplanes, and I just was I just was staring at her in disbelief, like, oh my God, I think this just changed my life.
Light
And
bulb.
so I got my notepad out. I was flying on the plane and I just started sketching out a wetsuit that incorporated a CO2 cartridge with an air bladder. And so I got off the plane and I called my friend who worked for Billabong, who's my sponsor, my wetsuit sponsor. And I said, hey, I want to design this wetsuit for big waves, like a safety suit to incorporate CO2 inflatable bladder in my wetsuit. I don't know
So
if it'll
smart.
work, but I want to try it. So long story short, we got prototypes. They worked incredible. The next session I had in big waves, I was wearing the suit, complete game changer. Like never felt safer, never was safer, never felt safer in my life. Like it will get you to the surface. So
That's
all the people
insane,
who
man.
die surfing big waves, they
Yeah.
all die because they don't get back to the surface in time.
Huh.
And even if you're even if you're unconscious, if you're at the surface, there's a lot of safety in place now, like guys on jet skis that can come get you if you're on the surface, but if they can't see you, they can't rescue you.
Mm-hmm.
So now fast forward, to 2024, I would say at every big wave spot in the world when the waves are giant, probably more than 95% of people are wearing flotation wetsuits. So
Based on that design.
yeah,
Dude,
which is
that's
really cool
crazy.
because it's it's just cool because people are much safer. It's rad.
Man, that's so awesome, especially having that light bulb moment, just listening to that flight attendant. It's one of those ideas that's so brilliant in its simplicity. Like we've seen
Yeah,
it, we've
right.
seen it in avalanche gear, but it
Yeah,
saves so many lives.
so many lives. And it's so strange that like I don't know. It's weird that like I never put it together before that or someone else like is hundreds of surfers who like surfing big waves. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's been amazing. But yeah, I've scaled back on the really big wave surfing these days. I'm 52 and I always planned on like when I got really immersed in surfing giant waves and I had all these goals, I always said 45 years old is the cap. That's my line in the sand. Like I'm gonna send it until I'm 45 and then I'm absolutely done. So now I still surf big waves, but I don't like pursue giant waves. So I'm not like flying around the world. I'm not flying around the world like last second,
Chasing the
looking at
biggest
my
ones.
phone and looking at big giant storms headed to Portugal and Mavericks and all these different places. So
Where's the biggest wave ever surfed at?
the biggest wave ever surfed is a tow-in wave. So I don't know how much you know about surfing or your listeners, but essentially, I don't know if people, I'm sure some people listening have seen this show called the 100 foot waves,
Mm-hmm.
100 foot wave. I think it's on HBO. Anyway, it's a show about tow surfing. So tow surfing is when you utilize a jet ski. So as a driver with a jet ski, basically with like a jet ski rope, with like a ski rope
Yeah.
with a handle, and they're towing surfers into giant waves. And when you're doing that, you can ride basically any wave, any size wave, that literally any size wave that has ever broken on planet Earth, you can tow into with a jet ski
Crazy.
because you're going so fast as jet skis go 50 miles an hour. So it's no problem at all to catch the wave. And you can be so far out to sea that you have so much control about putting whoever the surfer is on the rope, you can put him wherever you want. So your ability to ride a much larger wave is heightened with when you're towing in with a
Towing.
jet ski. So there's two different types of big wave surfing. There's tow surfing, which is a lot of fun, and you can ride any size wave. Or there's paddle surfing big waves, where you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the water, paddling, waiting for waves, and you have to position yourself just with your paddle power
Yeah.
and catch those waves with the power of your arms only. And I do like both. They're both like tow surfing is really fun, but I was like a real specialist with surfing big waves just with paddle power.
Yeah. More pure.
And the difference really is when it's a tow session with jet skis and the biggest wave of the day comes in, say there's 15 tow teams out there, 15 jet skis. When the biggest wave of the day comes in, all 15 of those teams are going to want that wave.
Yeah.
They're all going to be basically doing a chicken fight to catch that wave. And then when you're paddle surfing giant waves and the biggest wave of the day comes in and there's 30 people out, there might be two people paddling for that wave.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Dang.
So, that actually want that wave. It's just such a separator.
Yeah.
It's it really is. So there's a lot more fear. There's a lot more technical ability that's needed and a lot more like separation between the men and the boys, so to
Athletes.
speak.
Yeah, a lot more physical conditioning. Where's the biggest paddle wave ever surfed?
Jaws.
Jaws.
Jaws on Maui, yeah.
Man.
It's the biggest and the heaviest. Like not only is this the tallest, but the shape of the wave is the most intense.
I've used a ton of Bluetooth speakers over the years, and they all have never quite had enough output for me to really have an awesome home gym workout on a Bluetooth speaker. But the Turtle Box is in a whole new ball game. They have leveled up this product, so the bass and the output you get out of a Turtle Box is quite amazing. It's funny how we started using them at the lab. We had an awesome sound system at our new lab here in Bozeman. We were using it so much, we actually blew our brand new system out. We went right to the Turtle Boxes. And so we paired two together in the lab. And that was a lot of output for the Mountain Tough team and all of our testing to have phenomenal sound in our gym for a great workout with great music. We know there's a ton of Mountain Toughers training in their basements, in their garages, and I know a lot of you are looking for great sound to play some music in the background to your MGDs. This is a great product for you to check out. Turtle Box is at a whole new level. The bass and the volume you can get out of that box. It's a sweet product. You guys can check them out at turtleboxaudio.com. Use promo code TOUGH for a free Turtlebox hat with the purchase of a Gen 2 speaker. The hat must be added to your cart before entering the promo code TOUGH, TOUGH. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. How did you manage those like family dynamics with like especially your wife in those early days with you doing that with very young children at home?
I mean, I just did. You just do what you got to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was something I was like extremely passionate about. It was like in my blood. Like I was like obsessed with it. And my wife knew that, and she knew that was who I was. And my wife is incredibly understanding and supportive and totally cool. And she was definitely on board with it. Like she kind of knew the risks, and she showed at the time, she showed some cracks during that like 15-year period when I was like hyper focused on giant waves.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her at some points where she was like breaking down a bit when I was like leaving to chase another giant swell. And each time I did, I would call her at the end of the day and tell her I was like, okay and safe. But, you know, at the time people were literally dying, doing what I was doing, even on trips that I was on. And, so it was like a lot for her. And over the years, now that I'm done with it, she has like literal PTSD
From those years.
like it comes up from time to time where she'll have moments where she realizes how much more, how much more stressful that time was in her life
Man,
than she even realized. It's kind of like post-traumatic stress, you know, like
carrying
she
all
definitely
that.
went through a lot.
Yeah.
Wondering if her husband was coming home, which sounds kind of melodramatic, but it was reality.
Dang, that's wild. Now
It's
you're
like, I mean, it's not that much different. It's different for sure, but I can only imagine what it's like to be, the spouse of somebody who is deployed in a war zone, like that worry every day, like, hey, is the person I love okay? Is the person I love coming home? And, even though it wasn't, the exact same situation, the feelings are the same, like wondering if the person you love is ever coming home. Like, is this worth it kind of deal? So luckily those days are done. Those days are behind me now. So my wife is a lot more at peace with all that stuff. So we're all good.
And you feel like it was worth it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, life is short. Like if you, I really do feel like life is extremely short and you just never know what tomorrow will bring. And, I think it's really important to follow the things in your life that like really make you feel alive. And for that chapter of my life, that was truly what I really, really wanted to do, like deep in my stomach. That's
Yeah.
like all I could think about. So I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad I like really left it all out there.
Mm,
Grateful that I'm still here, but yeah, yeah, I think that time of my life I'll always look back on. And I have a lot of like, I'm really proud of kind of like all the work that I did and everything I sacrificed to put into those goals and those things in my life. So
for sure.
yeah, I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, and by following your passion and your heart compared to the alternative, I mean, the alternative you would have been probably a depressed, unhappy man not chasing the thing deep inside of you like that.
For sure. Yeah. And that's like that's a good point you bring up because I feel like, a lot of people who like for me, I always wanted to be done surfing big waves when I was 45. And so like since then, there's been like this thing missing, right? Um, Whether or not I want to sort of admit it, there's that part of me that could totally still be doing it. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
still physically fit. I'm still psychologically there. I still could easily be doing it for sure. But I always told myself I don't want to be that guy who's 50 years old out in the lineup where everyone's looking around going, oh, this guy's still doing this. And so you have to find passions in your life that make you happy, bring you joy and bring you peace and are stress relievers. And for me, that's been uh, bow hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really like I'm so grateful that I found bow hunting. And just because there's so many parallels between surfing really big waves and bow hunting,
Yeah.
like being able to be super patient, wait for those moments, experiencing, you know, how beautiful Earth is and how beautiful our natural surroundings are. Like bow hunting has taken me to like the most beautiful places that I've ever been on the planet
Mm-hmm.
and introduced me to so many good friends, so many incredible experiences, and just the parallels with like trying to keep that mental clarity and focus and keep your heart rate low and trying to execute at the moment of truth is very similar. Surfing giant waves when the wave of your life is coming in, you need to execute. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing. A a giant bull elk is coming into archery range and it's screaming its balls off and finally gives you a shot
Yeah.
and you have to make that shot count. Um, it's pretty cool.
It's epic. Yeah. And there's so many men that are living like in complacency or passivity, and they're kind of scared, intimidated to follow like what their heart is telling them. Scared of the work or scared of the risk or scared of like what other people will think. And then you can catch glimpses of that when bow hunting, when you're out there in the backcountry and you start to kind of realize like this is where I'm supposed to be and this is kind of who I'm supposed to be hiking through the backcountry, like hearing the animals, being close to the animals. There's such a primal thing going on as well, just being in those wild places.
Yeah. And it's funny. I just now was thinking like, what is bow hunting? Like, is it me like disconnecting? But it's really not. It's the opposite of that. Like I always think of like, we all work so hard in our lives. Like most of your listeners can relate, but like everybody's on the grind.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like waking up, trying to get their fitness in, get their family in, going to work, working, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, at some job that maybe they like, maybe they don't, but they have to do it. They absolutely have to do it. They got to pay all these bills. They got all these financial stress, family stress. Like overwhelming amount of pressure on all of us day to day as Americans. So we need some sort of stress relief. We need some sort of disconnect. And with hunting, I swear, I feel like it's more of like a reconnect. It's like a reconnection with who we are.
Yeah.
Like I just did 4 days in the mountains here in Hawaii hunting deer with some really great friends. Just camping, and everybody hunted solo every day, but like we camped together at night.
Mm-hmm.
And those experiences with good friends and like just sleeping under the stars and, having a fire every night and banter around the fire, like telling stories and stuff. And that reconnection with friends, that reconnection with the mountains, and that reconnection with yourself every day is, man, I need to do it more.
Yeah.
I need to carve out time from my own schedule, which is pretty hectic these days, to have those moments, to make those trips happen, because I just always look at it from this perspective of like, I'm 52. A blink ago, I was 40.
Yeah.
A
So
blink ago, I
fast.
was 20. And a blink from now, I'll be 75. I'll be 85. And I'll be looking back, and I guarantee you, there's no chance I'm going to regret going bow hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look back and be like, I should have bow hunted more. I should have spent more time in the mountains. I should have spent more time with my family. The obvious things, right? We all know it, but I feel like implementing it in our day-to-day lives is like, you really have to be intentional to be able to do it.
Yeah. And every time you implement it, you instantly know you should be implementing it more.
Yes.
And we
can. I think so many of us like get overwhelmed and feel like we can't make that happen. Like this trip we just did, it wasn't planned, and I just kind of had a wild hair. I lost a really close friend about a year ago, and I missed the guy a ton. And so I had just had a wild hair, and I'm like, man, I need to set up a bow hunting trip with all of our best hunting friends that all like miss him a ton. And it was coming up on his 1 year anniversary of his passing. And
man.
So we got 5 or 6 of us together, and it was just a great 4 days in the mountains, remembering him and just like telling stories and just like having that camaraderie, that brotherhood. And it was just incredible. And like a couple of the guys have like crazy full-time jobs, and it was like almost impossible for them to get off those 4 days to come and join us. And we were all like, dude, like no matter how much work it took to get here, it's worth it. No matter how much shuffling and, it seems so impossible, but when you're there in the mountains with your friends and having those experiences, like it's completely worth it no matter what it takes.
Yeah, the recharge, the reconnect. We at Mountain Tough, we talk all the time that if you're struggling at all, just like 4 days in the mountains without your phone, you don't even have to be hunting, will change your life.
That's right.
Like if you can get disconnected from that phone and just get in the backcountry, talk about many of our solutions to like anxiety, stress, depression. A lot of that can be solved with just multiple days camping out in the mountains, disconnecting from that phone that's always in your pocket, always distracting your attention. And these trips teach us so much. Also, we just got home from Kyrgyzstan. It had been a dream hunt of mine since the creation of Mountain Tough in 2016. The ibex is our logo for Mountain Tough, and I chose that because it's legendary for being the toughest animal in the world. And a lot of that is because of the like sheer face cliffs. They're able to run straight up and straight down. So we finally made an ibex trip happen and just got home. But so much of what I learned on that one is it was less about the hunt this time in terms of life-changing transformational moments. A lot of it this time was like the people you meet around the world that are living differently than Americans is eye-opening in terms of the simplicity of their life and how much happier they are than Americans. So like people living out in these wild places with a lot less distractions, a lot less materialism. And with less materialism, they are not grinding as hard at work because they don't have as many payments. And because they don't have as many payments, they're just like full of this peace and this laughter and joy. And so I just feel so fortunate that hunting allows me to catch glimpses of that sometimes. And by catching glimpses of that, you can apply it to your own life. Hey guys, there are a lot of trends out there. And one trend that I've personally found in my own life through experience that has been a game changer is cold plunging and cold water therapy. The benefits for me have been off the charts when it comes to two main categories. The physical inflammation reduction from cold plunging every day has been a complete game changer, but my favorite part of cold water therapy has been the mental aspect, the mental clarity, the stress reduction, and most importantly, the ability to build mental toughness every day in a very simple way by just forcing myself to get in that cold water has been a drastic improvement that is easy, fast, and efficient. I've tried countless different ways to access cold water therapy, from the redneck version, horse troughs, to building my own cold plunge system off Amazon parts and pieces. Every time I've tried that, it has been a disaster until we found Ice Barrel. Ice Barrel is the most advanced barrel design on the market, and they have the most advanced high-tech chiller on the market as well. I've met the CEO, I've worked out with the CEO, we've had them at the lab. They're a great team, American-made manufacturing, and we're proud to announce that you can now access a discount on Ice Barrel products. All you need to do as a podcast listener is use the code MOUNTAINTOUGH. That's going to get you 15% off all Ice Barrels except the chiller. Again, that's MOUNTAINTOUGH, all caps, all one word, on icebarrel.com. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast.
The less time you spend on screens and the less time you spend scrolling on your phone, the happier you're going to be. I really, truly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And the less anxiety, the less depression. Like, I mean, in our society, in America, man, like those, I mean, the data is out there, the science is out there. Like, you know, it doesn't take long to realize, like, once you really start looking at it, like how much anxiety your phone will give you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like how depressed people get just sitting there scrolling. It's like this, and the way that those algorithms are built and stuff, it's really worrisome, you know. And as efficient as our phones make us, and I live on my phone, I have to, because my life is so efficient, and it helps me be so productive. And the phone can be used for good, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
but a large percentage of my time on my phone is wasted, and it irritates the shit out of me. I
Yeah.
hate it.
Yeah.
Annoys me so bad. I'm like, I can't believe that I just spent half an hour doing that. That was the dumbest thing ever.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
but
so addicting.
it's so addicting. But I think knowing that is powerful. Knowing how addicting it is powerful, and trying to be intentional about minimizing screen time, and about, like, what do I really want to be doing in my life? Like, I need to take time out of my day to, instead of scrolling for 20 minutes, I'm going to go shoot my bow for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of scrolling for 20 minutes, I'm going to, like, make dinner for my kids, you know, or whatever is really important to you in your life. And I think you really have to be intentional these days, because the phone is great. Like, like these people who designed these algorithms on the phone did a really good job.
There's
It's
some of
definitely
those.
the best designed device in history,
Yeah.
for sure, because it is wildly addicting, for sure.
Yeah. Michael Easter talks about, like, think about 400,000 of the smartest individuals in society sitting around in rooms making this device as addictive as possible so that you're using it as much as possible. So it's like, it's an uphill battle we're fighting against a very, very sophisticated device and system. But just knowing that alone is helpful. I think that knowledge alone is helpful so that you're not just walking in blind.
Yeah, no doubt.
What
I think
did
we
it,
agree on that.
what did your physical training look like in the big wave decades, and what's it look like now?
During the big wave time, I was doing a lot of CrossFit. Um, I was in my 30s, kind of like mid 30s to early 40s. I found CrossFit and it was like the perfect thing for me to be doing when I was trying to surf giant waves. Um, I was I wasn't doing like your typical CrossFit for people listening who do CrossFit all the time. I was getting involved in trying to learn some Olympic lifts and stuff, really lightweight. And I was
Mhm.
doing but like CrossFit, a lot of it is like, let's see what your, 1 rep max is for deadlift, and we'll go off that. Like, that's definitely not what I was doing. I was all about AMRAPs and Metcons and trying to, like Murph, like those kind of like workouts I really liked.
Yeah, high
It was like
volume.
more like high heart rate, cardio based endurance stuff where you're like crazy gassed out at the end and like you just like fall on the floor in a puddle of sweat. And I feel like that I just like CrossFit, especially those types of workouts for me, because every day was like a suffer fest. Every
Hmm.
day was like these really uncomfortable moments spent with people who are also having those crazy uncomfortable moments where you feel like you're about to die.
Yeah.
Prepares you mentally because it's so uncomfortable. You're just
Hmm.
in this like black hole of discomfort during the workout. And it's addicting. Um, and I liked it. And it got me really strong and really fit. And I could run fast and paddle fast and I would not get gassed out. And I had crazy lung capacity. Um, yeah, but it definitely like it. And then as I scaled out of surfing big waves, I had to scale my my training differently for sure. Because
Yeah.
first of all, I didn't have the goal of surfing giant waves, right?
Yeah.
My goal at that point, my training became about longevity. Like now I'm really training not for, you know, surfing the biggest wave and trying to survive or trying to like look good in the summertime with my shirt off. My goal really is to like I'm like looking at like my 70s and 80s
Yeah.
and like going, okay, how do I want to be living in my 70s?
High
Like I
quality
want
of life.
surfing. I want to
Yeah.
be bow hunting. I want to be
Yeah.
like bow hunting at a high level in my 70s. I want my shoulders to be strong. I want to have that lung capacity. I want to have that mobility. Um, I want to be able to sleep in a tent in my 70s.
Yeah.
No worry. I want to be snowboarding. I love to snowboard, and my family does too. My wife loves snowboarding. My kids love snowboarding. So that's really top of mind right now with my training. And so my training now is like it's definitely scaled back. I mean, I'm 52, so I'm doing like probably I'm definitely not trying to hurt myself, but I'm trying to push myself. I'm trying to keep muscle on my body. So I've changed my diet a lot. I've
Hmm.
been really optimizing for like keeping quality skeletal muscle on my body, trying to keep my my bone density optimal, my bone mass really good. And then also like my brain health is top of mind as well. So, exercise is incredibly good for your brain.
Yeah.
Um, Keeping muscle on your body is extremely good for long-term brain health.
Hmm.
And having, it's all kind of really correlated. So I've been trying to learn a lot about that and kind of incorporating a lot of the science that's coming out with my training. And um, it's funny, talking about like suffering and health. Today is day 5 of a 5-day water fast.
Dang.
So
The
I
big
never thought
Yeti
I'd be able to
full
do
up.
it. I have cold water and hot water.
You're on
And
day 5
yeah,
right
so
now.
day 5 right now just started. So my fast is over at 7 p.m. tonight.
Man, how has it been?
literally just drinking water for 5 days.
How have
It's
you
been,
felt?
I bet you think, have you ever done a 5-day water fast?
I have not.
You know, I always thought it would be really hard. I'm like the hungriest guy in the world. I
Mm.
love food. I'm like obsessed with food. I like fantasize about what I'm eating for my next meal all the time. And so for me, it was like quite hard mentally to do this. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good day 5, to be honest. Like it's funny, day 4 and day 5, you get this surge of natural growth hormone
Hmm.
and this kind of euphoric feeling. And I don't really feel hungry anymore. I like kind of hit this like really cool pace and I have my energy back. Like I'm gonna go to the gym today. Day
Ketones.
1 and day 2 are pretty low energy.
Yeah.
I tried to go to the gym day 2 and I like left. I like got in there and started doing a couple things and felt lightheaded and just bailed.
Dang.
Um, but yeah, it's been if anyone wants to like do something really hard and enjoy doing hard things and like the kind of guy who likes to wake up and go straight into the ice bath,
Yeah.
try a 5-day water fast and see how you go. It's
Man.
you'll be able to pull it off, but it's not easy.
And a lot of that is crucial for brain health, correct? Where
Really
it's
good for your brain for sure. It's really good for cell regeneration. That's why I'm doing it. So there's a lot of really good benefits for your gut health is really good, but like for your mitochondria and your cells, like your cell regeneration is really good. So if you have any like, toxic cells in your body or, even like early cancer cells in your body, day 3, day 4, day 5, there's like this cell regeneration. Your body is able to like re-energize your cells. So
Mhm.
the healthy cells will kind of battle the weak or toxic or like negatively affected cells that you don't want.
Man.
So there's this kind of battle going on in your body. Once the food is completely out of your body, it stimulates all these really cool things happening in your body. But it is good for your gut and it's really good for your brain as well. I
That's
don't think
awesome.
like doing tons of fasts is really good, but it is pretty amazing when you look at like the data, what happens to your body as you fast for 5 days.
The science.
Yeah.
What are you going to eat tonight?
My doctor said I should do at least 3 or 4 days of keto right at front. Like it's really good for your body, like as you start coming back into food to
Hmm.
kind of start slow, which is like really hard, right? I'm like fantasizing about a tomahawk ribeye and like 3 avocados and um what else am I really like? I've been planning on eating a ribeye.
Yeah. Ribeyes.
Ribeye sounds good.
I'm always craving ribeyes.
Yeah, we'll see. I am too. It's funny, I swear my phone's listening to us right now because or listening to my brain, even when I'm not talking about it. Because I'll like if I ever look through like my Instagram feed, my algorithm is always showing me steak chefs and like
Meats.
big ribeyes and like Texas barbecues and beef briskets being smoked and all this stuff. It's like it's been torture the last 5 days.
Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. So you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNPOD to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to mountaintough.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. Our phone's probably just reading our thoughts now. We don't even have to talk.
No joke, dude. That AI is no joke. It's literally reading our brain.
Did you end up getting stem cells?
Yeah.
Where'd you get
I've
them
gotten
at?
stem cell 3 times now.
Okay. What areas?
The first time I got it from Ways to Well in Austin, Texas. I love those guys. They're amazing at what they do. In fact, like they do all my my medical stuff now as well, which is great. But at the time I was recovering from a knee injury. I ate shit into a tree snowboarding and destroyed my knee. So I had to get reconstructive surgery on my MCL and ACL, which was pretty gnarly. Yeah, the recovery was like 18 months on that. And about 6 months from my recovery, 6 months from my surgery, I was talking to Joe Rogan and he knew I was hurt and he goes, "Hey, you have to come out to Austin to get stem cells in your knee." He's like, "Fly out here, I'll help organize it." And so I flew out to Austin and we did a podcast and like the people at Ways to Well came to where I was.
Yeah.
Did stem cells into my knee. And then about 3 weeks later, I felt this, like my recovery just went like this. Like it was kind of crazy. At the time, my knee was like clicking. It was like, it felt like it was grinding gears in my knee when I was doing any kind of like exercises or stretching my knee out. It would go. And about 3 weeks after my stem cells, it was weird. It was like someone shot WD-40 into my gears in my knee. Like it was all of a sudden just like felt lubricated. It was wild.
Just lubed up.
So I was like, shit, I think that actually worked. And so I flew back about a month later and did it again. And I really feel like it helped accelerate my recovery of my knee.
Dang.
And really like heal it in a really strong way. And then I didn't know anything about stem cells at the time. And so after that experience, I was like, man, the stem cell thing is no joke. And so I started doing a lot more research about stem cells. And I was having, through my 40s, a lot of that time during surfing really big waves, especially at the end of my big wave stuff, my back started having major issues. Like my back would go out like quite often, like in a really bad way, where I couldn't surf or train for like a month at a time. And it was really driving me crazy. And so I after doing a ton of research on stem cells, I wanted to go and do like the full, kind of over the border, because what you can do with stem cells in the US and what you can do with stem cells outside the US is completely different based on FDA regulations.
Outside, you can go like full IV, right?
Well, outside you can do pure IV stem cells, yeah. And so you can get like 100 million or 150 million stem cells at once in an IV.
Jeez.
Pure and right there, in an hour. And outside the US, you can do also like really high volume injections. And outside the US, they can do what is called stem cell expanding. So this is a little bit like in the weeds, but it's pretty important to understand if you're interested in the stem cells. But it can basically like the place I went to, which is in Tijuana, called CPI, they have their own hospital, their own clinic, and their own labs. And so they'll take a healthy umbilical cord from a healthy birth after the mother doesn't need the umbilical cord any longer.
Yeah.
And within that umbilical cord, there's hundreds of millions of stem cells that basically just help grow a baby. And they take those healthy stem cells and they put it in the lab and they can actually duplicate those. They don't call it duplicating them, but they can expand is what they call it. But they're basically essentially duplicating those hundreds of millions into hundreds of billions of stem cells.
Crazy.
And there's no degradation. So there's no drop in quality. There's no drop in consistency. It's just exactly the same, literally identical as if you're cloning those stem cells.
That's just wild.
Sounds kind of wild and weird, but
Yeah.
it's real. And so they're able to create hundreds of millions, if not billions of really healthy stem cells from literally one umbilical cord. So they're not like, oh, you get one umbilical cord for your treatment and I get one for my treatment. It's not like that. So it's pretty neat, but they can't do that in the US. Then, we could go down the rabbit hole of why, but there's a lot of pressure to not allow that in the US. But anyway, so I did a lot of research on that. And so I chose to go and do stem cell injections all throughout my back. And then I also got them in my shoulders and my knees because I'm going there for 5 days. I'm going to make this count.
Might as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty intense for sure.
How'd you feel it in your back?
At the time or
no, like now? How do you feel now?
So I'm 12 months out from my big stem cell treatment throughout my back, my shoulders and my knees. And, I didn't feel absolutely anything on my back until about 6 months. Like nothing, like there's no benefit at all, like for like 6 months. And luckily I had a lot of people that I knew that had gotten back injections with stem cells, or a handful of people. And they kind of told me what to expect. And there was like a serious protocol with the aftercare, with physical therapy. And you can't do ice plunge. You can't go in the sauna. You can't train. I couldn't surf for like a long time.
Dang.
Which is a huge sacrifice for me, right?
Yeah.
For something that wasn't positive it was going to work. So I did physical therapy for like 4 months straight. I didn't do ice bath or sauna for 3 months. I didn't surf for almost 3 months.
Dang.
I didn't train at all for like 2 months. And then it was like really minimal for like another 2 or 3 months.
Brutal.
Which is hard, those are things that I like absolutely love in my life. So sacrificing those for that amount of time wasn't easy. But then about 6 months after my treatment, I really started feeling like this, my back just every morning when I wake up, normally I get out of my bed and I sit on my bed to put my shorts on.
Instead of leaning over.
I couldn't like stand up like you would normally just put your one foot in and without pain and stiffness in my back, like really hardcore. I literally had to sit on a bed. And then like 6 months from my treatment, I started getting up and being able to just like no worries put my pants on.
Crazy.
And that sounds like silly, but like it was such a big difference. And like I just had like simply less stiffness and less soreness in the mornings, like right away. Like normally my back was like okay after like warming it up, but it was just like I felt like getting out of bed, I was fine, like right away. And then now, like 12 months after my injections, I still feel like my back is improving. It's definitely getting better. Like I got a text from Rogan 2 days ago and he was like, hey, how is your back feeling after the stem cells? Because he's having some back issues and sciatic stuff, but he really wanted like the real deal, like feedback.
Yeah.
Because he's considering doing it, and he was like, how, on a percentage basis, how much better is your back? And I was like, I don't even know how to answer that, but I was like, I said, I think if I had to guess, if I had to like come up with a number, I'd say 30%, like it's 30% better. But that 30% is like a game changer in my life. Like before the stem cells, I could surf an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, and then I could do it the next day. Any more than that would piss my back off like crazy. I had to like really limit my workouts, my training. And then I had to like literally say no to like really good bow hunting trips that I was invited on because I was so worried that my back was going to go out.
Dang.
I was scared to sleep in a tent. I was scared to wear heavy packs.
I
was scared to clean a deer. Like just cleaning a deer for 45 minutes, like bent over, would throw my back out.
Crazy.
And now I cleaned 3 deer that I killed last week.
Yeah.
In the mountains, and I packed them all out. and just kept hunting day after day, like no worries. So for me, it's been a game changer.
That's a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy it takes that long to start working, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, I mean, they're like regenerating things in your body that
Yeah.
have inflammation. Like the way injuries in your body show up to stem cells is inflammation. So if you think about your body, like say you have like a torn rotator cuff in your shoulder, you inject stem cells in your body, or if you do IV stem cells in your body, that injury will show up as inflammation, and it's basically like a magnet for the
Mm,
stem cells.
they go
The
straight to
stem
it.
cells will literally be like a magnet straight to wherever has inflammation, which is all your injuries, which is wild. And they'll
That's
just
wild.
start going to work trying to regenerate things in there, all that torn soft tissue, discs, anything that's happening in your body that it has major inflammation happening, um, or tears, or anything like that, wear and tear. The stem cells will go straight there and start trying to heal everything, which
Man.
is be amazing.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Especially it coming from like an umbilical cord. It
Yeah.
may,
I unfortunately it's not covered by insurance, and unfortunately it's definitely not inexpensive, but my experience has been that it's worth it.
are the regulations in the US starting to change? Or are they still holding
A little
strong?
bit. Yeah, there's some changes happening in the US, and you can get really good stem cells in the US for sure. I mean, the ones that I got in my knee in Austin, Texas from Ways to Well were a huge game changer for my knee. And there's a lot of really good doctors in the US. I would do a lot of research though, if anyone's considering doing stem cells, whether it's in the US or out of the US. There's a lot of, don't just talk to people. I would definitely do a lot of research. There's some great podcasts
Hmm.
about stem cells and which doctors are great. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, people in their 40s and people in their 50s and 60s, are all dealing with, anyone who's had a lot of fun in their life, or anyone who's like worked really hard in their life, or anybody who's, you know, lived
Physical.
any lived a lot has
Yeah.
injuries,
Yeah.
and I can definitely speak on it that like in my 40s, those injuries starting to show themselves, and like
Hmm.
I started becoming living in pain, which
Yeah.
can lead to like a lot of stress in your life, depression, anxiety. Like it's real, man. Like
Mm.
you don't think that like injuries can lead to depression, but it's like no joke. If you can't work, you can't pay your bills. If you can't play with your kids, if you can't be there for your family, if you
Can't
can't
work
do the
out.
things you love to do. Like for me, it's surfing and bow hunting and snowboarding. If I start not being able to do those things, I'm going to be the most depressed human being on the planet. So
Yeah. It's a game changer for that perspective for sure.
for sure. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I know we're running out of time here towards the end, but we'll have to look at getting you out to a Montana archery elk hunt one of these years. It'd be fun to have you check out the lab and head into the Montana backcountry.
I'd absolutely love that. I've been thinking and talking about hunting Montana for a long time. And so anytime you want to have me out, I'd be happy to come out. I absolutely love hunting elk. So my bow is ready, my arrows are ready, everything's ready. My
Yeah.
tent, my sleeping bag, I'm ready to go.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you.
No worries, man. Thanks so much for having me. It
Yeah.
was, it was fun.
Thank you. What a great conversation with Shane. That was a fun, encouraging conversation for me. I love listening to athletes that have lived a high performance lifestyle for such an epic career as he has. He talked about how he stopped riding big waves at 45. Now he's 52. And remember, we're looking for those golden nuggets at every single episode. What can we apply to our life today, tomorrow, this evening? The big golden nugget for sure on this episode for me, there were two. One is the disconnect that we can get in the backcountry on these hunting trips, on these bow hunting trips, how important that is with how addictive these devices are around us, the screen time inundating our lives from all angles. We have to find ways to get away, to disconnect, to recharge, to reconnect. He did a great job of articulating that. So see how you can apply that to your life if you are not already, and how you can do more of it. Like he said, you got to just find a way to make it happen. Secondly, his conversation around focusing on longevity as he has gotten older. He wants to be able to hike when he's 60. He wants to be able to sleep in a tent when he's 70. He wants to be able to pack out. He wants to be able to draw his bow. So his mentality has shifted to longevity, which we talk about over and over again at Mountain Tough. Your goal is not to live to 100, essentially. Your goal is how high quality can my life be as I'm alive. So focusing there so that you can play with your kids, you can play with your grandkids. That was a great golden nugget from Shane. Thanks so much for being here. Love that you guys are diving into these episodes as we unpack the mindset of some of the most inspiring guests on the planet. Thanks for making us one of the top mental toughness podcasts in the country. And remember, as a Mountain Tough podcast listener, you do get 6 weeks free in the app. If you did not know that, all Mountain Tough podcast listeners get 6 weeks free. All you need to do is use the code MOUNTAINPOD. That's capital, one word, MTNPOD. Go to mountaintough.com, click start free trial, enter Mountain Pod, and that'll get you 6 weeks free in the Mountain Tough app. That's all of our content, all of our physical, mental, spiritual, nutritional training programs. You'll be in there for over 30 days for free using that code Mountain Pod. Love you guys, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. We'll see you next week.